Yo, what's up? Welcome to the opening line. Corey and Benny rocking with you on a Tuesday, not a Saturday. On a Tuesday morning, a Taco Tuesday. Shout out to the Memphis Grizzlies taking down the NBA Summer League. Brandon Clark being the MVP. What's going on with you, Benny? I heard you had a good evening last night.
Yeah, it was real good, man. A lot of the bets hit. I was all over the Dodgers and the Dodgers over. I was all over the Red Sox and the Red Sox over. I took both of them to go over their team total of like 5.5. I took both of those games to go over. And luckily for me, the Dodgers and the Red Sox basically got the overs by themselves yesterday, putting up 19 and 10 runs. I was all over them in DFS, so I won some money in DFS. Put it this way, Corey. I told you I went out last night at about 8:30, and it was a good going out at 8:30 because by that point I already hit a bunch of the overs. I knew I was bringing in money for the day, so I didn't give a crap. So we went out, and one of my boys, like one of my boys had to cash some tickets, so we went over to to the Meadowlands. We went over to the sports book, and then when we got there, we saw a couple of our other friends, and then next thing you know, it was like, yo, we're just gonna go cash this, and then go back to the house and watch games and hang out. And the next thing you know, it was 1 o'clock in the morning. There's like 10 people sitting around a table, and we had a $500 friggin' bill from drinking and eating and all that stuff. But it was a good time, and I won money, so
That's a night. Right there,
didn't really mind.
you see our boy Gabe in there?
I heard he was in there, but we went up to like the second floor.
Okay.
We were up on like the second floor and like the like those cushy couches that they had up there.
Yeah.
Like that's where we wound up sitting. And then we went down to where we were sitting that one night, like in the back part of the sports book.
Yeah.
And we were sitting over there for a while, just drinking and hanging out. My couple of our friends had a table down there already, so we just came down and joined them after we found out.
Shout out to Gabe. They actually got something done. Amazingly, they actually got something done. And Gabe is broadcasting from there now. So shout out to Gabe. You know what I'm saying?
Broadcasting from like the actual, thing over there. Yeah, he used to just broadcast with his computer, sitting there drinking.
With his computer. Yeah, Gabe was gangster. Gabe was set up with his computer. You know what I'm saying?
I did that the one night he called me, he told me to come on, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be out there." I was like, "Yeah, I'll come out and watch some games with you." I didn't realize he meant like, "Yo, you could be a guest on my podcast." I thought we were just going to drink some beers or something. So we sat there, and he was doing like a live stream. I think like a Patreon thing or something while we were there. So.
I did Patreon with Gabe the other night. We got hot and heavy into some NBA stuff. Speaking of which, and I'll start with this before we get into the football talk. Do you think the Warriors GM this morning is a report that they didn't sign D'Angelo Russell and to flip him? And over the weekend, I started thinking the same thing. And Benny, I think if somebody has to go, I think it's Draymond Green. I think he's the one that can be replaced.
I think he's the one that also wants to go.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah, I think Draymond is also wanting to go on to somewhere else and kind of prove that, he's more important than I think he gets credit for being in Golden State. Put it this way, Golden State, and this is what I said at the beginning, like Golden State knew that this team was not going to stay together. They knew like Durant was leaving. They knew there was going to be stuff there. And they couldn't re-sign everybody. For them to make the move that they made to get D'Angelo Russell in, I think they did it knowing that, something else was going to happen there. I still don't understand how this is a fit, though. You know what I'm saying? Because when you have this team healthy, are you really going to try to start Steph, D'Angelo Russell, and Klay Thompson? You know what I mean? Like, are you going to try to put all three of them in there? Because one thing we know about Steph is he's not a very good defensive player.
No, neither is Russell.
Yeah, one thing we know about Russell is he's not a good defensive player. If you have a Steph Curry, D'Angelo Russell backcourt, you're going to be playing horrendous defense. Like, they're going to have to win games 125, 124. Because they're not going to be able to stop anybody.
No, and that makes sense right there. Draymond is the engine, don't get me wrong, but the things that Draymond does, people can do. But then, I think him and the organization may be at odds. Obviously, they told him before the playoffs started, we're kind of sick of the attitude in the mouth. And they also got on him about his weight. You know what I'm saying? They were very difficult. They were very critical of him about his weight. And you saw him slim down before the playoffs started.
Here's the deal: is Draymond's looking for a big long-term deal. His next deal, he wants big money and he wants a long-term deal. They gave big money to Steph in a long-term deal. They gave big money to Klay in a long-term deal. I think they made their decision on what direction they want to go. To them, that's the core, and then they're going to try to build and add pieces around it. And I think the problem is Draymond wants that kind of money, and he's not going to get it because you can't give three guys on the same team that kind of money and I think they made their decision on who they're giving the money to.
You know who Draymond's agent is, right?
Is it Rich Paul?
Rich Paul.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw, have you been seeing this whole thing with the Morris and all that stuff and going on? Rich Paul
is grimy. That's grimy.
Rich Paul is putting himself in a really bad spot right now.
Yes, he is.
He basically screwed the rest of his clients to, slurp LeBron James. And now all this stuff is starting to come out about it. And I got to be honest, frankly, I'm happy. Because I don't think any of these agents or stuff should have the kind of power that they have. It's just going to wind up ruining basketball if that's the case. And, there's a lot of people right now who will disagree with me on this. But, again, you're LeBron's agent, and that's fine. And if LeBron's your big client, that's fine, and you want to do what's right by your big client. But you don't do what's right by your big client by screwing over another client that's paying you 5% or whatever the hell you're getting to go ahead and do that. The thing with Morris, I mean, basically, for those who don't know what happened, he didn't want Morris competing against LeBron. So he was like working these back deals and stuff like that and wound up screwing him over out of money and stuff like that because I don't know if he didn't tell him about a deal that was on the table or something like that was the rumor.
Clippers had a 2-year, $41 million deal on the table.
There you go.
Morris was going to take that deal. Paul stepped in and said, we can get you a better deal.
Mm-hmm.
A better deal. And like you said, Paul got him that Spurs deal, which was a $10 million deal. And then as it came down and unravels, it found, it looks like Rich Paul didn't want Morris on the Clippers as a part of that Clipper-Laker rivalry that is shaping up. Morris gets away, he goes to the Knicks, he gets fired. You know what else he did at the Summer League? He approached Adam Silver at dinner.
Uh-huh.
And Adam Silver was taken back because one of the rules of the commissioner is I don't speak to agents.
Yeah.
Or more or less came up to him and was like, yo, listen, we going to do this. And Adam Silver was like, dude, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. David Falk did it for years. Scott Boras has done it for years. But Rich Paul is really, really pushing it. He could get disbarred or some kind of fine or something like that.
Do you think he cares, though? I mean, listen, you know what? And I hate to say it, but
fines. He can't just have LeBron and then Bronny. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, the thing is, and I hate to say this, but if you have the big commodity that everybody wants, you kind of get away with murder. I mean, we see that in many different things in life right now.
Yeah.
And LeBron James and that crew and all that stuff. I mean, you could say what you want about it, but they control the NBA. They really do. I mean, the player movement, where guys are signing, stuff like that, all those dominoes kind of are affected by where LeBron James goes. So whether you like him or not, the guy carries a lot of clout. And if this is his guy, Rich Paul is his guy, Rich Paul carries a lot of clout because he's LeBron James' guy,
Yeah, I know one thing. I know that when it came to Zion Williamson, who still doesn't have a shoe deal done, there was a major, major push. Do not go with Clutch Management. Do not go with Rich Paul. Obviously, he took on Coach K's agent over at CAA. All right, let's get ready to hop into some football. FantasyGuru.com. Draft kit up and running. Everybody getting ready to rock and roll. Drafts coming up starting in a couple of weeks. It'll be August 1st in about 2 weeks from now. So it's time to get hyped. And Benny, we all know about the offseason moves that took place. Antonio Brown and Odell Beckham and some of the big names. Mm-hmm. I want to ask your opinion on some of the not so big names that moved around in free agency this past NFL season and see what you think about what they can do in fantasy in 2019. And I want to start in Philadelphia with Deshaun Jackson. Happy to be back in Philly. That's his place.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't work in Tampa when Winston was quarterbacking, but it worked pretty well when Fitzmagic was there because that's more of Fitzmagic's game. What is it going to be like with Carson Wentz? No. Before I ask you what's going to be like with Carson Wentz, has he lost a step?
Deshaun Jackson?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think he still has that take the top off of defense kind of speed. The thing that, again, Deshaun Jackson to me has been the same kind of fantasy player pretty much his entire career, right? He's not the guy that's going to get 8 to 10 targets in a game. It's not going to happen. That's not his role. He's going to run a lot of deep routes down the field to stretch defenses, teams are going to take shots to him. So, Carson Wentz will throw him the ball down the field a couple times. The games where he makes those plays and he catches those 30, 40-yard bombs and runs them into the end zone, he's going to finish with 3 or 4 catches for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. The games that he doesn't complete those plays, he's going to finish with like 3 for, 45 or something like that. So the way I look at Deshaun Jackson is a best ball play.
Yep.
Deshaun Jackson's a guy I want because he's going to have a couple 20 fantasy point weeks, but you also have to realize there's going to be some other 7 or 8 point weeks there. And if you have to set a lineup every week, this is the kind of guy that's going to drive you crazy because you're going to get pissed off at him for having a couple 7 and 8 point weeks, and you're going to put him on the bench, and then he's going to go 4 for $140 and 2 touchdowns. And then you're going to play him the next week after he does that, and he's going to have 3 catches on 4 targets or 2 catches on 5 targets for, 35 yards.
Somebody else's headache. I agree with you, especially when it comes to a league where you set lineups. As far as best ball, that's the way to go for D-Jax. I'm with you on that one. What about his former teammate, Adam Humphries? He's in Tennessee now. You know how I feel about Tennessee. I like Adam Humphries. I don't know if I like his quarterback.
I
haven't Scotch Fishbowl.
I was gonna say I actually have a little bit of Adam Humphries that I've been taking. Like
I got Mariota in Fishbowl.
Oh, you have Mariota?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it is what it is. If you're taking like the second or third quarterback, you're just looking for a warm body to start. Everybody's putting up about 15 to 20 points in the quarterback range anyway. I don't think that offense last year in Tampa Bay, that was a pass-heavy offense.
Yeah.
Tennessee, as we assume, I mean, maybe we're wrong, but we assume Tennessee's going to stick with the run-heavy kind of offense they've been running the last couple of years. So to me, right off the bat, that says there's going to be less opportunity. Humphries is a guy who he's more of like a PPR kind of guy because you're getting a lot of that slot work out of him. Again, I don't hate him in like a Scott Fishbowl where you're playing with like the third down conversion, extra points and stuff like that, because that's kind of the role that he's going to have. He's going to play that slot Julian Edelman kind of role, except he's doing it for a team that passes way less than the Patriots do, and he's doing it for a team that doesn't have a quarterback like they have. It doesn't seem – put it this way, they gave the guy money. They gave him a good contract. So they're expecting him to be a part of their team. Like, they're expecting him to be on the field and be someone who contributes. But I don't think he even reaches the numbers that he had last year. So I don't mind him if you're getting him late in drafts, which is where he's going anyway.
Yeah.
But he's definitely not a guy I'm looking to pull up a board. Like if he falls to me in round 12, I'll be like, all right, there's probably not many other receivers better than him at this point. But definitely not a guy that I'm targeting or looking to have on my team.
No doubt. A dollar make you holler on Adam Humphries. Devin Funchess.
I just waited too long for this guy to actually be something, I just don't see how it's going to happen. I really don't see it. I mean, to me, he's just a warm body wide receiver.
He's on the team. Listen, he's got Andrew Luck throwing him passes now.
But does he? I mean, is he going to be the guy out there? See, what people forget about Devin Funchess is Devin Funchess became a wide receiver when he came to the NFL. He was a tight end in college.
Okay.
So if you're going to use him as to me, he was always a guy who I would rather have seen in the slot. Like if you're going to have one of those big tight ends out there, you put him in the slot. But, Devin Funchess as an outside wide receiver just doesn't do anything for me. He doesn't – basically the only place I think Devin Funchess matters is in the red zone because he does have size. He's big and he's solid and he does have size and you can throw it up to him in the red zone, but he doesn't have the speed to run by anybody. Like I say, he was a tight end in college basically. He doesn't have the speed to run by guys. He's really not like a shifty guy where you want to put him in the slot and try to get him open there and throw passes to him. I just don't see how he fits into the NFL other than as a red zone target.
Okay. The Carolina Panthers lost their last 6 games last year. Wow. Crazy. See, my thing is a little bit different, Benny, with Funchess.
Go ahead. What am I missing?
Get him with a quarterback. All right, let's forget 2018. Cam Newton was hurt, right?
Okay.
Let's go to 2017 when you got a healthy Cam Newton. 113 targets, 63 receptions. You want that catch rate to be a little bit more.
I was going to say, that's like a little over 50% catch rate. That's not good.
That's terrible. Let's call it what it is. That's terrible.
Pretty much.
63 receptions on 113 targets. 840 yards, 8 touchdowns. That's a career year. That's his career year so far. He's been in the league now since 2015, so he's going into his 1, 2, 3, 4. He's going into his 5th season. He gets Andrew Luck. I don't know if it's doing anything for me either, Bernie, to be honest with you. Maybe I'm trying to talk myself into it.
Yeah, I don't understand why you're trying to talk yourself into it. I mean, put it this way. When he was –
it's nobody but T.Y. Hilton. Maybe Deion Kane comes back. They liked the Kane last year before he tore the ACL.
Every year there's nobody but T.Y. Hilton, right? I mean, isn't that kind of the thing? But, I mean, here's the other thing, too, is like when he put those numbers up with Carolina, he was Carolina's number 1.
That was the year when they got rid of – when old boy – what's the fat piece of shit name from Florida State? Kelvin Benjamin, yeah.
Yes, that's when they traded Benjamin to Buffalo. So he was their number 1. You're the number 1 receiver. You got 113 targets. You come away with 63 catches for 800 yards and 8 touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? Like, now he's a number 2 receiver in Indianapolis. Do you think he's going to see 113 targets? I mean, 113 targets is about, 7, 8 a game? So you think he's going to see 7, 8 targets a game in Indianapolis? I don't think so. Again, the one stat that I like with him, if you're playing in like a standard league with no PPR and stuff, he is a touchdown scorer. He's a big guy. He's a big target down there. They'll probably use him in the red zone because as much as we love T.Y. Hilton is not a great target when you get down there into the red zone. He's a little guy. He's shifty. Like, that's not the kind of guy that you want to be throwing jump balls to in the red zone. The only value I really see, Devin Funch is having is as that guy down there near the goal line.
All right, what about Randall Cobb in Dallas now?
I like Randall Cobb.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I like the fact that he goes from a team that we consider to be pass-heavy most of the time in Green Bay to a team that we consider to be run-heavy. I mean, for me, he's stepping into the Cole Beasley role, right? Yeah. And, I mean, as much as I like Beasley, it wasn't like Beasley was putting up, like, otherworldly numbers,
No, Beasley is as a Dallas Cowboy fan, you like Beasley on your team more than you like Beasley on your fantasy team.
100% agree. And I kind of feel like the same way with Randall Cobb. Like, listen, as a Dallas Cowboys fan like you are, I'd be happy that Randall Cobb's on my team when we get in a 3rd and 6.
Mm-hmm.
But as a fantasy owner, I'm not really excited about having Randall Cobb. Like, put it this way. I don't think Randall Cobb's going to make anywhere near as many catches, get anywhere near as many targets, or pick up anywhere near as many yards on Dallas running that system as he did on Green Bay. I think the Green Bay system was much better for him. And even on Green Bay, Corey, it wasn't like we loved this guy in recent years because he was in and out of being hurt a lot of the time. So no real interest in Randall Cobb for fantasy.
Let's change positions. Let's head on over. Look, there was some shakeup at quarterback, Nick Foles being the big one, obviously. The Dolphins quarterbacks, we got Josh Rosen and we got Ryan Fitzpatrick. They took a picture of the two of those guys and they put it out there. It was a picture. They had the uniforms and shit on. It was Fitzpatrick standing next to Rosen. So the guy that writes for the Miami Herald, Omar Kelly, tweeted the picture out. Somebody added him and said, well, which one is going to start? He said the one hole in the football. The one hole in the football was Ryan Fitzpatrick. We've discussed it, Benny. You know what I'm saying? It's a best ball flyer. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be weeks where he's going to win somebody $1 million.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he likes to fling the ball down the field. I saw it when he was the Jet quarterback. We saw it last year when he got his chance in Tampa Bay. I don't think he has –
Buffalo. That's his MO.
Yeah, I don't think he has the receivers that he had last year.
No, he got
that's it. Yeah, I think that's something that people need to consider when they're starting to look at him. But listen, I took him as the 32nd overall quarterback drafted in the Scott Fish Bowl. He was the one guy that nobody else took up until the point where I got him in like round 14. I was perfectly happy with Ryan Fitzpatrick as a round 14 kind of flyer. Again, there's a lot of risk here. Like at some point, like Rosen is probably the future of the team. That's why they traded for him.
I think Tua Tagovailoa is the future of the team. That's what I
mean. Maybe if they're that bad this year, I wouldn't doubt it that, maybe they don't have their quarterback there. But I do think at some point this season they're going to see what they have with Rosen. So if you're waiting and drafting Fitzmagic and thinking you're going to get 16 games of him as a starter, you're probably not going to. But again, if you're taking him as like a third quarterback in a flex league. Like that's really where you want it. When you're playing in like a super flex league where you can start more than one quarterback, that's where he has value. Because in like a normal standard league or a normal PPR league where you're starting one quarterback, Corey, and there's 12 or 15 people in the league, this is not a guy that should be on anybody's roster. He's a guy that you wait until your quarterback gets hurt and you just pick up because you're streaming him for a week here or there, while he's the starter at some point in the season. The only place he has value for me is in Superflex.
I agree with you on that one. That's the only thing. That's the only way I would go with him either. Joe Flacco, is it over?
I mean, he was another one of those late round quarterbacks that I was able to get in like round 12 or 13 in the Scott Fish Bowl. Listen, Joe Flacco he's on a run heavy team in Denver. They do have some good weapons. I mean, you still have Emmanuel Sanders there. You have Cortland Sutton on the other side. Like, there's some good wide receivers there, but I don't think he's gonna put up big numbers. I don't think they're gonna be looking to throw the ball all that much. I think you're gonna get out of Joe Flacco basically the same thing you got out of Joe Flacco in Baltimore. It's gonna be a run heavy team. They may be down a game or two. He might have one or two big games the entire season, but for the most part, you're gonna get like 220 yards passing and a touchdown and an interception or something.
I'm a Bronco fan. I would be disgusted when they bring Joe Flacco into the organization because one of your biggest nightmares as a Bronco fan came at the hands of the once elite Joe Flacco.
Mm-hmm. Baby, University of Delaware.
I know that
chicken. Yep.
When I call Joe Flacco elite, I get a lot of negative tweets. But now I've changed it to the once elite Joe Flacco. I don't care what nobody say. Joe Flacco was once elite. Let's get to some tight ends. And I really only got one. I'm not talking about Jared Cook. Austin Seferian-Jenkins. Why is nobody talking about him, Benny?
I'm going to be honest with you. Again, guy who I liked when he was on the Jets. I don't even know what team he's on right now. Who did he sign with?
He's on the New England Patriots.
You can see by my face how much that makes me mad. So listen, the Patriots lost Gronk, right?
Yep.
They let Allen walk. So there's obviously a hole there. And the thing that I hate the most is the guy has talent. The guy has talent. And Belichick is a master at
wait a minute, they cut him.
Oh, did they? Thank God. Because that guy has talent, and if they could have figured out a way to use him, that would have been a problem.
Yeah. Oh, man, I thought he could have been a steal. They cut him.
I was about to go draft him right now. I got a pick coming up in Scott Fish Bowl. We're in like round 21. When you said that, I was like, really? He's on the Patriots? I got to go take a look here.
Yeah, no, it cut him. Son of a bitch, they cut him. Yeah. So right now, the top of their depth chart is Ben Watson, 38,000-year-old Ben Watson. But Ben Watson is dealing with a suspension. So yeah, I don't know what to do. It's Matt Lacoste. You know what I'm saying? Trust me, whoever they put back there, Benny, is going to be a stud. I guarantee you that.
They're going to use him. They use everybody. They'll find ways to use him. Again, he's not going to put up Gronk numbers. He's not going to be that. They need a receiving tight end because, I mean, with Gronk out of there, they've always used the tight end as part of it. Here's the thing, Corey. If you don't think they're going to use the tight end this year, then we should be much higher on Patriot wide receivers.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to throw the ball 50 times a game to James White. James White already gets enough volume. They're not going to throw the ball 50 times a game to James White. So they're going to have to figure out something else in the short passing game. If it's not the tight end, then where are they going to go? They're going to have to go to – I mean, again, you're going to throw a lot of passes to Edelman. That's fine, but you always throw a lot of passes to Edelman. How are you going to make up those targets that used to go to Gronk?
They're going to see – well, most people are going to say it's going to be the rookie and N'Keal Harry. And like I've said, I would not trust the Patriot rookie wide receiver. I don't think Demaryius Thomas makes the team. You look at the rest, Philip Dorsett.
I don't think I think Philip Dorsett will have a better year than people. They still have Dontrell Inman too, right?
Yes, they still have Dontrell Inman.
I honestly feel like people are sleeping on him. Like Dontrell Inman, I think could – because to me, when you look at the talent that they have a wide receiver or lack of talent that they have a wide receiver, like to me, Dontrell Inman is at least an NFL wide receiver. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not saying he's a superstar. I'm not saying he's going to be a Pro Bowl or anything like that, but he is an NFL caliber wide receiver. You can't argue that fact. Like the guy, was a the problem with him is he was always buried on the depth chart when he was with the Chargers. You know, like he was never the guy who really got a chance to shine because they had so many other people there. But I don't think Dontrell Inman sucks. I think that's a guy that could wind up.
And he's better than Demaryius Thomas right now.
To me, Demaryius Thomas, again, and I hate to say it because I always loved Demaryius Thomas, but Demaryius Thomas is done.
Yeah, I think he's lost.
We saw that last year with Houston. When he went to Houston, like, everybody was like, oh, man, Demaryius Thomas on Houston, this is going to be his resurgence. He caught, like, 3 or 4 balls, like, the first series that he put a uniform on. He caught, like, 3 or 4 balls in that series. And I don't think they used him again for, like, the rest of the year, the rest of the couple games that he was with them.
3 or 4 balls in that series, and he caught 3 or 4 balls the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So, to me, like, the guy who makes the most sense to kind of pop is Dontrell Inman.
And interesting right there. Good call right there. So, moving on to the running backs. You know the big ones with Lev Bell, mainly the biggest one. Jordan Howard is now in Philadelphia. Mark Ingram in Baltimore. Tevin Coleman in San Fran. I want to circle back to Coleman, but a player that we haven't talked about is Latavius Murray. Latavius Murray takes over the Mark Ingram role in New Orleans now, Vinny. That's worth a draft pick.
Without a doubt. I think people are sleeping on Latavius Murray. I mean, listen, maybe Kamara gets a little more work than he did, so maybe the role for Lat Murray is a little less than the role for Mark Ingram, but it's still a role. And, I mean, for a long time, the Mark Ingram role and the Alvin Kamara role were both roles that were, you know, something that you wanted on a fantasy team. You know what I mean? Like, Ingram, when he was in there, did more than enough to be a viable fantasy option and a viable fantasy starter every week. Even if Lat Murray is 75% of the Mark Ingram role, he's still better than a lot of other running backs that people are taking ahead of him. Like, I would much rather have Lat Murray than take a chance on, like, Peyton Barber or Ronald Jones and seeing how that shit show works out.
Yeah.
You know, there are a bunch of other places that's there. I think worst case scenario, you get 10 to 12. You get 10 to 12 touches out of Lat Murray a game in a worst case scenario, and it could be as much as 15.
And I agree with you, and I think Lat Murray's a player, like you said, that's being overlooked. I think that his name is going to start popping on people's radars pretty shortly. So I'm in on Lat Murray. And I've never been in on Lat Murray before, but I'm in on Lat Murray this upcoming season. I like Dalvin Cook to bounce back too. He's still back there in Minnesota. There's another running back, David Montgomery, is the guy I'm circling as the rookie running back that I think could break out. I think he would have the biggest opportunity. So I like Montgomery going into the year, his rookie year for the Bears. I want to pull up ADP right quick. And this is from Fantasy Pros. It's the quickest one I can get to me right now, that I can get to right now. Oh, do they have anything else up here? No. But they got 714. Yeah, well, let's look at this one right here. No, you can't look at this one because there's too many dynasty drafts and stuff like that in here. Looking at running backs, David Montgomery is going off the board as the 25th running back, going behind guys like Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake.
Mm-hmm.
Lat Murray is going off the board as RB 36, one spot ahead of Ronald Jones, and 2 spots ahead of Kareem Hunt, who is not going to be playing the first part of the season. So Lat Murray is a player, you know, like my man Lenny Melnick would say, etch that name in your kitchen table.
Yeah. The Kareem Hunt thing, I understand why people are doing it. They're hoping that Chubb gets hurt and you get Kareem Hunt for
not even that he get hurt, Benny. He can be a nice piece on the back end of the season.
Yeah, but I mean, when do you take a Kareem Hunt, though? Like, for me, I'm not taking a Kareem Hunt until I already have, like, the core of my team kind of set, and I'm in these last rounds, and I'm deciding between, like, you know, him and, like, some scrubs. You know what I mean?
It's a roster construction deal for me. If I'm in FFWC format where I start 2 flexes, and I come out and I hammer 2 backs in the first 2 rounds, then I can put Hunt. I can start Hunt on my bench as a potential 4th running back / flex.
So you're high on David Montgomery, right? I just called up ADP right here, so I'm taking a look at it right now myself. You're high on Montgomery. Let me ask you these questions. Mark Ingram is 20 on this list. They have Mark Ingram around like 23, 24. David Montgomery at 25, 26. You'd rather Mark Ingram than Montgomery, right?
I take Montgomery.
You take Montgomery over Ingram?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. I would probably go the other way. But here, so then you'd probably say the names that I'm about to mention right now, because I think Mark Ingram is better than all these names. So you'd take Montgomery over James White, Tariq Cohen, Chris Carson, Darius Geis, Tevin Coleman are the 5 behind him.
Okay, dudes like White and Cohen, they have a specific skill set. My thing with Montgomery is a rookie running back is going to finish as a top 12 back.
Okay.
History says that.
Josh Jacobs.
It's not Josh Jacobs. In my opinion, Josh Jacobs played with a team that's going to be passing the football. David Montgomery play on a division, a team that can win the division. So they're going to be more than likely running the football down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that makes a lot of sense.
Like Cohen and White, those are players that I'm more like, okay, I know what they can do. So
right.
That same range. It depends on like I said, it depends on roster construction. Do I want to pass catching back, or am I looking for a true number 2?
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying there. And that makes sense. Like guys like Cohen and James White, they depending on how my roster's coming along, those are and where things are, those are guys that I grabbed there. Corey, I want to ask you about this one situation because this is something that I'm a little I don't really know how this is going to work out, but I like the stable of running backs that the San Francisco 49ers have in their backfield now.
Yeah.
You bring in Tevin Coleman. Jerick McKinnon looks like he's going to be recovered from his injury, and he's there. And he was a guy that I always liked, figured he's a home run hitter kind of back, a guy that's got big playability. And then you also had Matt Breida, who was pretty good last year too. So you have 3 running backs now in San Francisco, all 3 guys who I think can be productive if given the opportunity. My fear, though, is they're all going to be giving some kind of opportunity that's going to limit any one of them from breaking out unless we get injuries.
All right, here's the thing. I'm going with Tevin Coleman.
Okay.
Or at least the guy that's going to have the biggest return for your fantasy bang.
Right.
When the Falcons season ended and they were doing, the general manager and the coaching staff and all of that was doing their, final press conferences, they asked him about Tevin Coleman. And the GM kind of said, more or less the GM said, we would like to have him back, but you got to figure Kyle is going to come and get him. But we're going to we would like to have him back. But he specifically mentioned that the 49ers are going to have interest. Mm-hmm. And the 49ers came right in there, and they got him. I don't think they went to get him, not to use him. And and Kyle Shanahan has Tevin Coleman's 2 best seasons were with Kyle Shanahan, and Tevin Coleman is also, him and Kyle Shanahan played in the Super Bowl together. You know what I mean? So I think that is an interesting case right there. Right quick on the Falcons, the Ito Smith thing. This is crazy as shit that I'm even mentioning this, but it is what it is. Devontae Freeman is not getting any younger. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
He said he's going to change his running style this year. He's going to go out of bounds more. But the Ito Smith but Ito Smith is the backup. Dude that used to play for the Panthers, Kenyon Barner, is on the Falcons too. He would be the backup to Devontae Freeman.
Kenyon Barner?
Yeah.
Used to be Miami Dolphin too, right?
I think he could have played in Miami too. I know he was on Carolina for a while. He may have been with the Dolphins too, but he's on the Falcons now. So that's a player that I would say would be more of a backup than Ito Smith.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Ito Smith was always like the home run hitter type, right? Like the guy you're going to throw some sweeps to outside, let him use his speed. That's why when I heard everybody saying, he's going to be taking a goal line work, I'm like, he doesn't really kind of strike me as the guy who's a goal line back. I never really got this whole Ito Smith love that everybody had. I basically just thought it was kind of because people think Freeman is –
it's going to go down in any minute. Yeah.
As a little frail and could get hurt, yeah.
What about you, Benny, San Francisco?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I've been on Tevin Coleman, but I've also been taking – Jerick McKinnon is just, falling a little further than he should, I think.
I love his game, McKinnon.
Yeah, I mean, when I just remember, I don't know, maybe I'm biased because I watched a lot of those Minnesota Vikings games when he took over and was pretty good there for a couple weeks. And I'm not one of these guys that's spark score this, spark score that. But listen, athletic ability is athletic ability. When a guy scores off the charts, you take notice. I mean, George Kittle was the same way at tight end. you know, most guys are – when you make it to the NFL, you're not going to make it to the NFL if you're not athletic.
Yeah.
But like when you stand out as an athlete amongst some of the best athletes in the world in the NFL, I take notice to that. And like Jerick McKinnon was one of those guys who had like one of the top spark scores ever, you know? Guys like that, you know, that athletic ability, you see it translate on the football field with the way he cuts, the way he jukes, the way he just outruns guys, just flat out outruns guys. If he's even with you, you're not catching him, you know, like that kind of thing. So I think he has a lot of ability there. Like I said, I'm on Tevin Coleman. I drafted him in a couple drafts I've been in already. Jerick McKinnon I've been taking later on. Matt Breed is the guy who I really have like no interest in.
He might
but I'm
be on the outside looking in.
Yeah, and I'm going to be perfectly honest, though. The way I think this works out this year, if one or two of these guys gets hurt, to me, it's whoever's standing, right? Like if Tevin Coleman goes out, I'm running to the waiver wire to make sure I have guys like McKinnon and Brady on my roster, and vice versa if one of the other ones gets hurt. Like if McKinnon gets hurt again, I want to make sure I have Brady there because I do think that all these guys could step up and have – there are backups that even if they get the opportunity are not going to produce. I think any one of these guys, if they get the opportunity to be, you know, a bell cow or a main ball carrier, I think any one of them should be on a fantasy team if they're going to be the main guy.
I agree with you on that. All of these dudes are rosterable. Another quick note about running backs. Miles Sanders, the rookie running back in Philadelphia, looking at his ADP according to Fantasy Pros, is going off the board as running back 32. I'm fine with him as running back 32. I would want to get him a little bit later. What I would say is this, though. When people start cutting him early in the season, or people start getting frustrated, and he starts showing up in trade offers, grab him. He's going to be a kind of a player that's going to hit his stride later on in the season.
I agree.
And there you go right there. He is going to be a buy low candidate. Like I said, he could hop on the wire, whatever. You want to have him for that second half of the season and for that playoff run. Because I think, Benny, that's when he'll make his amends right there. Banged up right now with a hamstring. That means training camp to get off to a slow start. But once he gets rolling, he's going to be the guy.
Yeah, I am always worried about rookies who aren't able to practice during the summer. Because, again, that's a very important time for you to be learning things and be getting your reps and to be getting ready. You know, a veteran who's not ready in week one, you know, or week one of the preseason, I have a little more leeway with. But here's the other thing, Corey, that we've been noticing lately. Guys who miss time in the preseason tend to get hurt more often, too, when they come out there and start playing because they haven't really ramped it up, and they're trying to ramp it up in real time in a game. So you have a guy who's not taking his rookie snaps and kind of getting used to the speed of the game in the NFL, and then you have him with an injury, so he's going to be behind the eight ball, too. I would 100% agree with you. I do not think this guy is going to come out at the beginning of the season and do much of anything. I think a lot of people are going to be frustrated because they're going to see him getting, you know, 5 to 8 touches early on in the season in some of these games. And I think he is going to wind up on the waiver wire. So I have not drafted him. I am not drafting him. I'm also not drafting Jordan Howard or anybody else in that backfield either. But I do think by midseason to the end of the season, Miles is going to, you know, kind of emerge as the guy that you want there.
Yeah, that's it right there. As far as the Ezekiel Elliott thing, he needs to get an extension. Period. You know what I'm saying? You talk about the hierarchy with these two rookies in Dallas. Dak Prescott play every game. He's at every single practice because he needs reps and he needs work. Ezekiel Elliott rarely practices, you know what I'm saying, and rarely plays in the preseason because that's the engine right there. So don't pay Dak Prescott and not pay Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott should get paid first.
I don't disagree with you with anything you said there. There's two situations right now that are at least worth noting and monitoring, right? One is the Cowboys situation there, obviously, with Zeke. I sent you a text, what was that, yesterday or 2 days ago, where I was like, yo, I know that you're a Cowboys fan and you don't think this is going to happen and you don't want this to happen. But let's say worst case scenario, they tell Zeke, F you, we're not giving you your money, hold out. Who would be the guys that you would want there? So let's do that one first, and then we'll talk about the other question.
Mike Weber, and Tony Pollard, the two rookie running backs. Mike Weber was the guy who replaced Ezekiel Elliott after he left Ohio State. The first, second down runner, three tackle guy, three down back who runs between the tackles. Tony Pollard is interesting. The reason why Tony Pollard won't get the majority of the work is because he's a specialist. Tony Pollard is going to be the Cowboys version of Alvin Kamara. He's that type of in-space style player. But early in his career, you can see him on a lot of special teams and stuff like that. So Weber will get that early work. He would be the guy that I would say is the main handcuff. Pollard is a change of pace, directional type player who could have fantasy value. Pollard is more of a dynasty guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Weber can make a difference this season, especially if something happens to Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, now I don't think it's very likely that Zeke doesn't get an extension and they don't. I think they understand how important he is to the team and all that stuff. So that situation, I think, does get worked out. I got to be honest, though. The one that I'm a little more worried about is the San Diego situation with Melvin Gordon. So Melvin Gordon, to me, is a situation where I could see him holding out, maybe missing some games or being late to start the season. And that would be, something that would open up some value. Because let's face it, I mean, I'm looking at the draft right now that I had in the Scott Fishbowl. Melvin Gordon went in the first round. Yeah. Melvin Gordon's a guy going in most drafts somewhere around like 6 to 12, like maybe he drops into the top of the second round, but a lot of times he's a back end of the first round kind of guy right there. If Melvin Gordon happens to sit out, how are you going with those other backs? I mean, we saw last year, Justin Jackson did a little bit of the running. Austin Eckler was the guy who really caught. I'm going Eckler too. Now, here's the question that I have, though, is how high does this pull Eckler up a board for you? Where are you going to be reaching for an Austin Eckler right now? Because he was already a guy in that same range right behind the guys that we just talked about, like the James Whites and those guys. He was one of those pass-catching backs that is going – let me see where he was going right here. Probably in the 30s and 40s, right? Somewhere around there.
No, this one right here got him at 41.
Yeah, I'm looking at ones that 38 to 43 in that range, so right around 40. How high would that pull it up for you if you find out that, there's a good chance Gordon's going to miss some or most of the games or something like that?
Man, it's so tough because – okay, so it's like – because I don't think he's going to do a Le'Veon Bell. He doesn't have that kind of cachet to pull that off. Well, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, he has better draft status, so he had a better first contract than Le'Veon Bell, as a matter of fact. So there you go. He can pull it off. Oh man, I don't think he does it. Le'Veon Bell has been hinting at it. You know what I'm saying? See, Le'Veon Bell was the best running back in the NFL
when he did, without a doubt. Here's the thing, though.
Melvin Gordon's never been the best running back in the NFL.
Agree, but here's my thing. The difference between the Zeke situation and the Melvin Gordon situation is Zeke, they're going to get something done with. That's why I'm not going too crazy with the Pollards and the Webbers because, if you want to take him in the last round of a draft as lottery ticket, I'm perfectly fine with that. But I'm not willing to reach there. Austin Eckler, I'm willing to reach on a little bit because I really think that there's an opportunity. That Dallas is going to pay Zeke because they're stupid if they don't. I really don't think LA is going to pay Melvin Gordon. I really don't think they are. I think at the end of the season, they would let him walk anyway. So if this is the thing that starts it all, I really don't think that they're going to chase after this guy.
No, and I can see that happening. Like you said, I mean, Jerry Jones has been through Emmitt Smith holdout. He understands the importance of a franchise running back, especially when you're trying to win a Super Bowl. This season is not about winning the NFC East. This season is about playing in the NFC Championship game or else it's a bust. So you need Ezekiel Elliott to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Great.
So they'll figure it out. They'll get it done. If I'm Zeke, I don't do no handshake deal. I don't want to be like, we give you money at the end of this season. No, extend me now.
Yes.
Extend me now. You know what I'm saying? If I'm Zeke, I get that extension. If I'm Dak, you got to wait till next year, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's just the bottom line. You know what I'm saying?
I don't disagree at all with that, to be honest with you.
As far as Eckler goes, as far as Gordon goes, I can see a holdout being a little bit longer. I do think he will get in at some point. Austin Eckler, if I know that Gordon is not showing up, Austin Eckler becomes
a top 20 running back, in my opinion.
Top 20 running back.
I would put him. I'm trying to look here before I say, he's a top 20 running back. Marlon Mack, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry. Those are the guys Kerryon Johnson. That's the back end of the top 20. And that would put him up there with guys like
Devontae Freeman.
Yeah, basically from like Devontae Freeman, Kerryon Johnson, Marlon Mack, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Phillip Lindsay, Sony Michel, Mark Ingram, Kenyon Drake, David Montgomery. To me, he's in that group, and that's the group that's like 15 to 25.
But he's never going to get drafted that high, though.
And that's the thing. That's why I'm saying. That's why I think there's value in him. With him going around, like, again, right now he's going around 38 to 43, depending on which ADP you're using from. This is like – I'm looking at Fantasy Pros right now. So you got like Yahoo, ESPN, MFLs, FFCs, RT Sports, Fantrax. Like those are the ones that they're tracking. And they got Austin Eckler going around 40 right now. Austin Eckler probably deserves to be going around the 20s if he's going to be getting the role that he had when Melvin Gordon was hurt last year.
And that's what I think it'll be too. So there you go. All right there with that little bit. Like I said, FantasyGuru.com. We're already up and rolling, getting you ready for your drafts coming up probably in the next month and a half or so. So we got you covered. Make sure you go over there and sign up to FantasyGuru.com. That's where all the work will be at this year. If you want to get down with the get down. What do we got for the night, Benny, as far as betting-wise?
Well, listen, yesterday we made a killing with the Dodgers in the over there because they were going up against Zach Eflin, who's a guy that struggles with left-handed bats and struggles with guys that hit home runs. So left-handed power is the way to do it, and the Dodgers have a lot of left-handed power. Today, the Dodgers draw Vincent Velasquez in the same park bump that they get by going into Philly. Vincent Velasquez, you know the two things that he struggles with, Corey?
What's that?
Left-handed bats and power. So it's literally the same situation. Now, remember, I love the Dodgers yesterday. The Dodgers put up 19 runs yesterday, hit 4 or 5 home runs in that game, and got into the Phillies bullpen and wound up blowing everything up. I see no reason why that's not the same thing that's going to happen today. The Dodgers team total over 5.5 today is actually playing plus money at plus 104. So I'm running it back. I'm taking the money I bet yesterday on the Dodgers with the money I won from betting yesterday on the Dodgers team total over, and I'm running it back today for plus money. So I put $100 on it yesterday. It was minus 103, paid out 195. So I just put that whole 195 back on them at 104 today, which will give me $400 at the end of the day if the Dodgers get over 5.5 runs again, and that'll basically pay for the TV I just bought for the beach house. So let's go Dodgers. Let's get some runs. I mean, I think that honestly, I actually think Zach Eflin might be a better pitcher than Vincent Velasquez. So I'm looking for them to put up 20 today.
Run it back. Benny, it could be a trap game, Benny. Be careful of the trap.
And you know what, though? That's fine. If I lose it today, that's okay.
Oh, good, right?
I also took the Dodgers. I had the Dodgers and the Red Sox parlayed yesterday. That was paid plus 150. I had the Red Sox over yesterday. I had the Dodgers team total yesterday. I mean, listen, I almost made about $1,000 yesterday on $400 in bets that I put in. So basically, like I said, even after paying for a bunch of drinks and everything last night, I'm still playing with house money here. And when I looked at it today, the Dodgers team total was the thing that stuck out the most to me. So that's actually my favorite bet on the day. And then for those of you who are looking to make some bigger money today, Asher Wojciechowski is pitching for Baltimore. This guy kind of sucks. And the thing that he sucks with the most, again, left-handed bats and left-handed bats with power. You got Juan Soto getting a big park bump going from Washington to Baltimore here. Juan Soto is my home run call for the day. So that would be a guy who I'm looking to see what I can get for Juan Soto to hit a home run. If I can get 250, 300 or better on him to hit a home run today, I'm going to be very interested in Juan Soto.
Right, there you go right there. Juan Soto it is. I will be playing that prop also as soon as I get myself together. All right, big piece of chicken. What do we got, Benny?
I mean, I'm giving my big piece of chicken to the Dodgers offense. I mean, that was amazing yesterday, the amount of runs they put up and the amount of money they helped me win in DFS and in sports betting in general. So, I know our boy Vlad is a huge lifelong Dodgers fan. I know that Magic Sports guy, Kevin Adams, huge lifelong Dodgers fan.
Nice.
As well. The Dodgers this year, Corey, they are legit. They are legit. That offense is ridiculous. I got to say this, though, and I never thought I'd say this about the Dodgers. I'm a little worried about their pitching, but that offense is legit, and they're getting a big piece of chicken today.
Shout out to the Los Angeles Dodgers. They get the big piece of chicken. I will second that since they won you that money yesterday, Benny. Did the Yankees cover that team total yesterday?
They scored 4. They lost 5-4 in extra innings. Honestly, their offense did not look good yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
They did not. I think they had 2 home runs from Encarnacion, and then I think a home run from Gio Urshela, and that was it. That was the only runs that they had. Now again, they played Blake Snell. Blake Snell's a pretty good pitcher. Like, they did get to him last time, but you're not going to light up Blake Snell every time he goes out there. But I did not like what I saw out of the Yankees for the time I was watching that game yesterday.
All right, there you go right there. For my main man, Benny, is Corey Parson, the fantasy executive. Opening line, we are out.